But moving into, and this is very exciting, Ride, which was a Hallmark Channel show and is now on the CW. There's no official word on whether or not CW is considering picking it up for a season two, but considering there's promo involved and the actors and the team behind the show are interacting with fans, including posts that are about a potential season two, that makes me think that they are in consideration.
The ratings were
So,
good too.
and they
Hmm.
were good. Asterisk, CW good.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but they
Yeah, see, I
were.
didn't compare it to the Hallmark ratings. Do you know what they got on Hallmark
No, but I see.
ratings?
I don't think they were because when we look at
What,
the ratings, it's always just the network shows. So I have no idea what they were doing on
I
Hallmark.
have the Wikipedia page open, funnily enough.
Ooh, yes.
1.31 million is what the pilot got.
Oh, well, okay.
Well, that makes
Hmm.
sense with Hallmark, though.
Hmm.
Yeah. Did it get canceled because of ratings? This is not part
They
of the
never
review. This is
act.
just out loud brainstorming.
They never actually revealed that, did they? I don't think.
No, they didn't actually reveal it, and I'm not really sure why they canceled it. Because I think the ratings were okay, but it also just depends on they had a smash hit with The Way Home.
True.
And they have the show that keeps on giving, which is One Calls the Heart, I believe.
Mhm.
So maybe they wanted Ride to do better, and they just didn't reach the numbers that they wanted. Not necessarily that the
Mhm.
numbers were bad,
Yeah.
Mm.
but in either case, CW is now up to bat. So I am really, really manifesting a season two. If you guys have not checked it out, I think you should. It is supposed to be available next day on the CWTV.com or the CW app, but CW drops when they want to. So I'm not sure. I can't give you a time for that. But let's launch into the premiere, which sets us up for a story about the McMurrays, which is a family that has a rodeo legacy in their town in Colorado, I believe. And they deal with a tragedy, which I'm not sorry to see Austin leave. I didn't
You
like
know,
Austin.
yeah, yeah. I wasn't impressed by him in the beginning. I was like, who's this guy?
I know. I was like, I was wondering, I was like, are you going to be around for long? Because I feel like you shouldn't be.
He's up to no
Just,
good too, but
Hmm.
we don't really know what it was, right?
and you won't for a while.
Ah,
Okay,
love
we love a
that.
slow burn.
But no, they don't. It's just something shady that obviously Valeria has some understanding of. Valeria being the not really adopted. She's family, but Isabel's never adopted her. But she
See,
did
I was
get brought in.
confused in that opening scene where they're all in the kitchen
Mhm.
Hmm.
because Austin comes out and then Valeria comes out and she's like getting dressed, and I'm like, what's the relationship vibe?
Yeah.
I was so
Yeah.
confused for a hot minute of like who was who in the family tree. It took me a minute to realize that Missy was not a McMurray sibling.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. But I mean, it all came together quickly. But it just in that beginning, I was like, who, what is happening? Who are these
It
people?
there are a lot of people in the kitchen, and they
There
did
were a
not tell you
lot.
the family
Yeah.
dynamics at first.
Yeah. I was trying to keep up. I was like, okay, well, this is his brother and this is his brother. And then wait a minute, who are you? And that's clearly the sister. Oh, no, wait, you're not the sister. And then there was just so much happening. And that gave me vibes. I kind of, because we just went smack down straight into it, that kind of gave me vibes that are we going to do a time jump or something? Maybe I shouldn't have seen that coming or whatever, but it was like, okay, we're just picking up right away. We haven't been told who these people are, what's going on. And it just was like any whole scene. Like, if you weren't familiar with the fact that this was the pilot, that very easily could have just been the first scene of any episode because you kind of like, were expected to know the characters. But it built towards it so quickly that when the big event did happen and then we took the time jump, I was like, oh, I kind of predicted that. I don't know why I saw that coming, but it, yeah, it just felt like you were supposed to keep up with that and then drop all that information and start again 5 minutes later, which is exactly what it did.
Well, you saw it coming because you're a student of TV.
Well, I'll take that.
But no, I mean, it is good. I think it did well to set up some of the dynamics. Because it is interesting that we are meeting everybody at a time in which one of the family members is just coming back. And then when we do
Mhm.
jump to a year later, another family member is just coming back after she left. I like how wholesome Ride is. And different. No one is doing bull riding. on television. I mean, there's some horseback riding, but definitely not bulls. And the
Hmm.
trick riding is really cool too. I was getting my life. It is just something about seeing people interact with animals that you don't often see on
Mhm.
television, especially in ways that are like they're rooted in traditions that have been going on for centuries and that don't get talked about a lot, and its own culture. And they did not slow down to tell you to define what they were doing. Like Missy does a suicide drag
Hmm.
in the show. They don't tell you
I know,
what
I was like,
that
girl,
is.
what?
They just show you later on, and it's beautiful trick she does on a horse, in which I believe she's upside down with her leg out.
Hmm. Yep.
Mhm.
When we first caught sight of that, I was like, did something go wrong? And then no, she got back on. I was like, okay, okay, this was supposed to happen.
And then like you do understand what the name is. I was like, no, yeah, that looks suicidal.
Hmm.
One wrong move and that neck is gone, but it looks gorgeous.
She
I
pulled it
will
off.
say that I feel like Cash is like so brave, first of all, but it
Hmm.
also he's sort of like he feels like obligated to follow in the legacy of his family. But like they revealed that the dad died the same way as Austin, right?
Hmm.
Yes.
So I'm like, baby, things happen in threes.
It would be a
I'm
no for you.
nervous.
And so was Isabel, his mom. I mean, and she would be. I don't really that was one part of the pilot I just never seemed to understand is Cash's irritation that Isabel is just not supportive of him riding bulls. And I'm like, it's only been a year since her son Austin died, your brother. She lost her
Mhm.
husband Dusty in the same way. Maybe she's tired of sitting in the stands and watching the men in her life get stomped out by a bull. Maybe she's
Yeah,
just
see,
done.
this is one of the questions I have is I'm like, how lucrative of a business is this to their ranch that these men have to keep putting themselves in danger? I mean, it's a talent, it's a passion. Like, I'm not saying no one should ever do this, but I'm like, oh my God, it's dangerous.
Yeah,
So I'm like, I mean, the ranch is failing, as we learned. Miss Girl cannot pay her bills. So I'm like, how does Cash need to bring in these no bad pun intended, but does he need to bring in the cash from riding these bulls? That's my question. I'm like, how lucrative is this that he feels obligated that he has no other option but to do this? Did he do it before?
he's. I cannot tell you that. I
Oh,
think.
okay, they
Well,
find
I
well,
out.
get the vibe. I get the vibes that he'd done it in the past, but dropped it when he left. And hadn't done it in a long time, so that he wasn't the experienced one that his brother was.
But see, I love that trope of like the black sheep rebel, like disavowed the family and has to come back and like I love that trope. It never gets old for me.
well. Actually, I mean, do y'all mind being a little spoiled?
I love a
Because
spoil.
Go for it.
okay. So I believe if I remember correctly, and the show will correct me if I'm wrong later on, um, Austin isn't as talented as Cash is. Cash was the more
I mean, yeah,
talented,
I could have told you that's
yeah,
no
bull
shade, just
rider.
tea.
But I think they tell you later it's Cash that was the prodigy, but he walked away from the sport. Um, and but I don't know if he walked away because his father died or not. I can't remember, but he is more talented than his brother. It's not the sport itself that's lucrative, it's the sponsorship from Frontier
Mhm.
because his
Gotcha.
his face will be splashed everywhere. And like because it's a brand deal, that's how the money is going to be rolling in for the ranch. I don't believe they ever tell you like what the ranch does outside of them being
Yeah,
a
see, that's the
rodeo
question
legacy.
too.
There's they obviously provide crops because at the end, Valeria comes up with an idea to seed the land in order to start over since the crops weren't working from last year. But I also don't know how a ranch breaks even because I remember I really enjoyed Queen Sugar, and one of the plots was that when they got the farm back, Ralph Angel did make over $1 million, but in their
Oh,
line of work, that's breaking even.
oh,
Mm.
Um,
wow.
it paid for the equipment, it paid for the workers, it puts enough in his pocket to feed his family, but that doesn't necessarily mean he turned a profit. It just means that
Yeah,
it was just enough.
getting by.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And he was upset about that, understandably, because what do you mean I raked in $1 million? But it just it just made sure that everything was covered.
This ranch business is expensive.
Yes, and you could tell too because that tractor she was on looked expensive. It
Hmm.
really, really did. But I think for ride for people who are going to be on this journey for the first time, if you've never watched like a country drama, um, do know it's going to be slow. Like it's just it's meant to feel good and there is a little bit of a mystery, but it really is just about the family and the things that they have to do in order to get by and heal from the trauma of losing Austin the way that they did. And for everyone once again in the town to know that they lost him the
Wait,
way
this
that
is
they
a
lost
whole
Dusty.
season long thing. We're still gonna be talking about this man.
Not necessarily about him, just working through the
Michael's
healing.
face.
Not Reed saying what we were all thinking.
Yes, I mean because I mean it is a big deal, even though we don't care for Austin. The way that he was lost is like tragic, and
Of
you do
course.
have to find out what exactly it was that he was doing that wasn't on the up and
Hmm.
up clearly.
Okay, gotcha.
Hmm.
That makes sense.
You will have to see him some more too, just so
Oh,
you know.
Oh,
really?
flashbacks.
I was wondering why the actor was under recurring and not guest stars.
Yeah, yeah, flashbacks. But okay, so I do want to check in about shipping though.
Uh-oh.
Um, I love Cash from the Sea, but I remember watching it the first time, I was like, why'd that have to be his brother's wife though? And now
Yeah,
he's being all
I think that's where I'm at. I think it was I mean like saw it coming a mile away. Like, come on. But it happened very quickly, I will say, which I don't know. I mean, I'm 50-50 on. Like, I love that the pacing went there, just like Wild Cards did in its pilot. But also I'm like, whoa, I just saw the man die and now she's kissing his brother. I don't know, it was a lot, but I think I need to build a little bit more to catch
Mm,
up with where you're at to like them. Like they have chemistry, obviously, but the whole like forbidden like she's his sister-in-law thing. A lot to wrap my brain around at the moment, but I mean, it's a soap, kind of, so whatever.
yeah. Well, I mean, and that's why it graded for me watching it in the premiere because I saw this isn't a spoiler because I think it's seeded in the show. They have a close relationship and had a close relationship before her marriage.
Hmm. Hmm. I noticed
So
that.
it's not even one of those things where it's inappropriate because she's married. It's like tell miss the train. And now the train is still sitting there docked, but she married your brother instead. Because that's like an awkward thing for everybody involved.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This kind of storyline is always a bit of a like middle ground. You don't really know where you'll fall when the when like someone passes and his partner ends up with the sibling. It's always middle ground, and that's some people are going to like it and some people aren't. But I feel like the more accepted one is that if they eventually just come together and find happiness together. But this implied, like Sabrina said, that there's more there. There was history there before he died, and is this just revisiting it? Is it the road that was never taken that will now be taken? Because there's definitely chemistry there. I know there's no doubt about that. And out of context, you definitely feel it. But I know when you put it back in context, there are more questions about it. I mean, like I do buy it. It's happening, whether you have an opinion on it or not. It's just how long it takes. Um, but yeah, there's no arguing that like you felt it during their scenes together.
Yeah, well, she gave him the home from war run at the
Hmm.
rodeo. I was like, when they first, I was like, oh, so that was your man at one point, maybe. That was like my first thought when I first saw it. Because I was like, girl, that's not how one hugs their brother-in-law, even when you haven't seen them for a long time. The face was giving wife, and that's not your
Hmm.
husband.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm here, kind of.
Sabrina was like, they had me right from the beginning. I don't care what anybody says.
Yes, I mean, it's very true. I was like, well, Austin's gone. I didn't like him. I watched too many soaps for this to be too much of a problem, but I also don't like that this is how they did it. I think it's going to be a part of the relationship that I just don't care for.
Hmm. That's fair.
Yeah,
And then we haven't talked about Tough yet.
that's my
Um,
man. I loved when he was it the mayor's daughter?
Yeah.
mhm.
He gagged her, and I
He
loved
did.
it. Like,
That was
whack
really
her again,
funny.
babe. Whack her again.
Oh, I don't chase the Cowboys. The Cowboys chase me. That was the moment I knew I was really gonna love Tough because I was like, ooh, she just, girl, pick up wipe the egg off your face, pick up your jaw because it's done.
Cooked, done.
Yes.
Oh, and she isn't she chasing after Cash too? And Cash is not giving
Yeah.
her anything.
Mm-mm. Poor thing. It's not
Yeah.
gonna be him. I also love that Tough sings. I love
Yeah.
that
Mm.
that's a part of his characterization because it also sets him apart, besides the fact that he's also a bullfighter and not a bull rider. But which I feel like they needed to explain a little bit more about what that is.
Yeah, I was just about to ask what because I missed that.
So there's the rider, the person who's on the bull, and then the fighters are like once the rider like falls off, they've got to corral the bull who's angry into the
Mm.
back into the pen or to lead them away so that you can get them away from the rider. So his job is just as dangerous as his brothers because while he might not get stomped, he could get gored.
Hmm.
And I did like that they had seeded in how tough this would have been for Tough too, because he was the fighter in the ring when Austin died, and he felt responsible,
Hmm.
even though he's not.
I like that they brought that up more towards the end of the episode because Tough was such an easy character to like, but I feel like when they give that character who has everything to do, but they also don't feel like the most important character in the story. He was just kind of there for a lot. He's like, we'll have him sing now, we'll have him drive the tractor now. He's stressed out because he's doing everything, and he didn't. It felt like they didn't find a place for him in the story. So I did like that towards the end of the episode, he revealed that he still feels a certain way about this, and feels like he has his own redemption arc, and that's why he wanted to be there for Cash. So I really do hope we get to see more of him because I feel like of all the characters we've met so far, he's the one that they've done the least with, and I hope he has like more of a like fulfilling arc going forward because he's such a lovable character.
He had a little glimmer of a his own ship.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I don't know who that was. I don't remember, but he was down bad for Tough. You could tell.
Yes, and he will be around.
Oh, God.
He will be around. I feel like once we get to the end of the season, I'll check back in with you guys on Tough, how you feel about Tough's story. To me, he felt like he got a little lost in the sauce just because
No.
there's so much going on with Cash and the
Mm,
ranch, and then Valeria that I feel like Tough has some great story beats, but they could have done more with him. To me, even though he's the younger sibling, I felt like he had middle sibling syndrome, that
mm,
energy because he's the one who stayed, he's the one who takes care of everything, but he's not the one with the most drama.
mm-hmm.
See,
Um,
this is why I need a second season already because I feel like, how do I say this? How do I gingerly walk on the eggshells? I feel like he would have a better place at the CW.
mm,
Okay,
I hear you.
we
I got
connected.
you.
We got
We're there.
it. Period.
Indeed.
End of sentence.
Yep. We're there. We're here. I think you'd be right. I think because he does, I don't want to say that Tough doesn't have a storyline because he does. I think that it becomes clearer towards the end of the season what's going on with him. But I do think that the majority of the focus is Cash and Missy. And obviously, there should be focus on Mama, Miss Isabel.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's like he's obviously a very important character and he has relationships. Out of everybody, he has like already established a relationship with everybody in the main cast, like a very tight knit bond. But I think there's this thing that happens in some of these more like wholesome family oriented shows, and I could give an example. Should I? I will. In Sweet Magnolias, there is one singular queer character, and his purpose is just to like be a sounding board for people and to like pop in and out. And he's not a main character like Tough is, but I feel like sometimes that's how some of these shows service queer characters. And I think
Mhm.
um who knows what that's about? Who knows? Maybe it's the genre, maybe it's whatever, but I feel like he could his character would have room to grow
Yeah.
in
Yes.
a different environment,
Hmm.
Yeah.
such as this one.
it's a very TV of yesteryear kind of trope. I know exactly what you're saying. And it feels like no pun intended, but it feels like they've saddled him with the storyline where he's the good kid. He's the one that's always there, and like you said, he knows everybody. He's around all the time, but yet has the least to do. The pilot suggested that would change towards the end. I'm kind of on the fence about the fact that he does get lost in the storyline the further it goes on. Um, because I would like him to have anything to do that kind of just involves him and not everybody else. We'll see how that plays out, but
I'm excited for y'all to see towards them. And this is, I think, you know, the thing people do, not people, writers tend to do is when they're doing a more marginalized character, whether they're queer or they happen to be a character of color in a predominantly white cast, where you get them, and then part of the story is about breaking them out of the mold of what people are used to, but they do it slowly so that you get used to this character and then you want more for their storylines. I feel like that a lot of that happens with Tough. What you had mentioned, Michael, about being the good kid. I believe Tough has a fight with Cash about this.
okay, that sounds exciting.
I think they get into an argument about it because again, Tough is the one who's always been around, so you don't
Mhm.
get to just make comments
I don't know. I'm
about
on
what's
tough
happening.
side.
Yeah.
I'm ready to
So,
die for him.
but yeah, I think I think you'll like him. You'll want more focus for him, but I think you will like him even more.
I mean, before I even watched the show, I followed the actor on Instagram. So it's been like a year.
Jake Boy, right?
Yeah, he's adorable.
He's also the one singing, for those who didn't know. That is actually him
Oh
singing his
god.
songs.
I love it.
I read an interview with him. He's got a musical theater background. So if they do
Oh,
pick up a
fun.
season two, I'd love to get more of Jake Loy and
Hmm.
his band
Yeah.
playing on the show.
Yeah. Maybe he leads bullfighting for a music career in Colorado.
Well, I mean, the manifestation of thoughts.
Let him choose his own path. Yeah, doesn't always have
Yeah.
to be about riding.
No, I think that's what's so great about these shows is that they do what with big family casts, I mean, is that you do get to examine whether or not the family legacy is right for everybody
Hmm.
Hmm.
and
And
whether or
that's
not it's fair to pigeonhole someone that way.
Yeah, and that's it. This show was so unlike anything I've watched before because this that kind of content wouldn't be on TV a lot when I was growing up. The closest thing I can remember is it like being like as Wildfire that was on ABC Family, but even then, that's a dramatically different kind of shows. But the same kind of tropes are in there. The whole family lineage, family legacy, and it's like, do you want to follow in those footsteps? Who's going to take over the ranch? We're all having money problems. Like the storylines are kind of timeless, but Ride is a more uh, it wouldn't have translated, I don't think, to the UK audiences or the worldwide audiences as well as Wildfire would, because that was more like what's the word? Family drama driven, teenage drama driven kind of thing, whereas this is more of your typical like Hallmark drama. I wish we did Hallmark dramas more over here because it took me a few moments to get into it, but when I was in and I was like, you know what, I could see myself watching
Yeah, I
all
was
of
like,
this.
what is this?
Yeah, I've never experienced anything like this before. But oh no, honestly, I've really enjoyed it. Like I said, even though parts of it I could see where the plot was going. That's because again, the more family drama stuff, I've watched stuff like that, even in different genres. But like, I enjoyed it a lot, and no pun intended, it was a fun ride. So like, yeah, I
See,
really
I
liked
already
it.
want, before even seeing how the rest of the season ends up, I already want a second season because I just feel like it would be a good fit for the network and
Yeah.
it's such a it has so much potential. And I also, and this is the bit that the three of us talked earlier this week, and I was like, I'm gonna save it. It might be controversial, but I feel like in a season two on the CW, there's the opportunity and not like turning it all the way up, but I'm saying just a little bit, walk with me. It has the chance to be a touch sexier.
Oh
Like
yeah.
CW, like I don't
Hmm.
need it to turn into, yeah, I don't know what to compare it to. It doesn't need to turn into something wild and crazy, but I'm like free from the reins. Again, we're doing all the ranch horse puns of like a wholesome, tied up network, which yeah, that has a place. I'm not saying you should completely abandon that and what fans fell in love with, but like, I mean, CW, you got a cast that's, CW hot. That's a term. It's not me. That's a term that exists.
Hmm.
I'm not taking ownership of that. I'm just saying there's an opportunity for the show to grow and just be a little,
Yeah.
Yeah,
get a
yeah.
little spice, a
We
little bit,
can move.
little sprinkle.
We can move away from TVG, TVPG to a little
Yeah.
closer to TV-14, an episode or two
Yeah.
if they choose
We don't need
to.
to go like full tilt Riverdale, like
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
over the top. Like it doesn't need to be that, but I'm like, give us a
Just
little
a little
something,
something.
a little
I mean,
something, something.
Tarzan levels. Tarzan just
Yeah.
like a little sprinkle for you,
Yeah.
and
Just,
that's it.
hide a shirt in one scene. That's all I'm saying. That's it.
I think you're right. And I think the show actually lends itself to that. It doesn't feel like one of those shows where it's wholesome in the sense that like if they did try to do that, you'd be like, no,
Yeah.
let it be, let's
Yeah.
live in the range of TVG. It feels like, if it actually was on a different network, they would have slid that in
Yeah.
at
Hmm.
some point
There's
somewhere.
like this isn't a plea to be like everyone needs to take their shirt. Like, no, like it doesn't need to turn into something it's not. It's just like organically it feels like, and I think that could also naturally help tell certain ship storylines. That can, I mean, we saw in Tarzan, like you said, Sabrina, like Jane saw him in certain states of undress and it was like, oop, you know?
Hmm.
I mean, just throwing it out there. It's just a, little hot tip.
I think we could end the ride review there, though. I think that it's,
Right.
yeah, it does
A
feel right.
recommendation for season two.
Yeah, just a little note.
A little bit.